believe, at the 1964 World's Fair as a concept car, and then Lee Iacocca introduced it into the U.S. market in 1966. And of course, iconic Ford Mustangs. We'll see them later on today in the historic Trans Am.
So as you can see, as they come out of 11, our big machine vodka spike coolers turn 11, and it's being led by the man who runs that particular company, of course, Scott Borchetta, leading them on to the start finish as we head for the start of our feature race 1 for Group 6 and Group 12A. Away they go, and a good start from Borchetta in the Corvette. Up the hill he goes, being chased by a fellow Corvette. This one, a 1969 as well, Michael Augier, right behind him as they all file through, single file through 2.
And again, I believe Borchetta, I don't think he's going to walk away from the field, which sometimes we've seen him do over the past events and past year. But if he does, the Corvettes behind him are Corvettes, but they're a different class of Corvette. In other words, Borchetta's has a little bit bigger engine in it, a little bit more modifications to it. But those 2A production cars have been going at it all through practice, and both rounds of qualifying separated just by a couple of tenths of a second. So Orator in the 969, we saw him last weekend at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca as he battled with James Farley's Cobra. This weekend he's battling with another Corvette.
So the field already spreading out as they head through the carousel for the first time. 16 minutes on the board, and Borchetta already starting to build on his lead as he heads down to the first hairpin.
And the first Group 12 cars, I believe that's going to be J.R. Smith on the Ford Mustang, but again, Group 12, which is a combined group with this Group 6, the other car in that is that BMW. Those have been the 2 fastest Group 12 cars, and again, you know, SVRA brings together an eclectic mix of cars. You get a Ford Mustang leading a BMW.
Yes.
Great, you know, American muscle car up against a great European car.
And you can see how much the car is leaning from side to side. They're pushing, and now you see the lights blazing on the BMW, and he definitely means business as they dive into turn 11 for the first time.
Yeah, again, that's the first generation of that BMW, and BMWs before were built obviously to sell to the public and be homologated for racing. This car was actually kind of done the reverse way. They built it for racing, and they also decided to sell it to the public.
Yeah, not many cars do start that way, but the ones that do end up actually being really valued by the customers because they're such lovely cars, because they were designed and built to race. And so just the chassis, the feel, the stiffness, and all the rest of it, a lot of guys like that. They may never be a race driver, but the idea of having a car with a hard chassis and having all the grunt and all the rest of it.
At BMW Z3 and Z4 also were kind of done that way too. They obviously were a customer car. They wanted to sell them to the public, but they were also raced in the day back in the American Le Mans Series and the WeatherTech Series as well.
So Borchetta building on that lead.
Got the 350 cubic inch engine in that Chevrolet Corvette. A lot of times people think it's a larger engine just because of the sound of it, but 350 was actually the engine that replaced the 337 cubic inch engine as the base engine for this particular year model. Now they also had an all-aluminum ZL1 engine that produced 430 horsepower, but that is not in that car.
And fresh from the grid, he's back.
It's Ben
the one
Sissel.
and only Ben Sissel. Ben, yep, I know we've been watching the podiums and all the rest of it, but Scott Borchetta, 28, can he do it?
I think he can, but I love this Captain America livery there in the number 37 at John Anderson. But yeah, never count Scott Borchetta out. Unbelievable. Dylan Hellman, his whole crew, they really know how to build a Corvette. But there are some great cars out there. There's my blue 42.
That's Rick Mooney, I believe.
Yeah, Rick Mooney, 1968 Corvette Roadster.
Mooney leading in B production. He was the fastest qualifier both yesterday in the afternoon qualifying session and in this morning's qualifying session. Rick Mooney, the number 42.
Yeah, we saw J.R. Smith there, got a little bit inside there at the Big Machine Vodka Spike Cooler turn 11, but there's a great shot. J.R. Smith with Huntsman Cancer Research, and they want you to come down and sign their hood, Scott.
Yeah, I definitely will. I was going to do that last weekend, didn't get a chance to, but I have a second opportunity today.
Borchetta, Auger, and Anderson. Mooney in 4th, Smith 5th. And I'm finally getting a chance to say it, Bacciocco. I met him. Mike. There you go. I got it. He hounded me yesterday because I had pronounced. He reminded me of the race of last year where I was talking about him, but he said, "You got my name, so right, you're going to say it right." I said, "Okay, you got me." And he loves that 1966 Mustang he's got. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, those two Corvettes I was talking about, it's John Anderson and Michael Orger that have been together in the 6A production. They qualified together, they were practiced together, and we were kind of looking for a good race between Orger and the 9 and Jonathan Anderson.
Yeah, Michael Orger was with us last weekend, all the way from Chicago. And Rick Mooney from the Northwest. And there's J.R. Smith trying to catch up. That's a Group 12 car trying to catch the Group 6 car of Mooney. That's a beautiful car, that Mustang. I like the livery of it. J.R. Smith was with us last week. And look at this orange Corvette there. That's Jenny Yankel Swanson, 1964. Love having her out here with us. She and her dad, they were having a little bit of problems. Her dad drives a Cheetah with us, and so great to have them out here.
Now slowing down and going offline. That's Orica in the 969. He's pulled off and got out of harm's way. That's a real shame.
Yeah, again, he was. Again, we were looking for a good battle between he and Anderson for A production, and Orger had been the second quickest car out there yesterday behind Borchetta. So a tough break for him. We saw him, Ben, we were just talking before you were getting into the booth here about the Orger's battle with James Farley last weekend.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch. Now here's Andrew Alcázar.
No, it's Alcázar. I know that because Bill Auckland and I called and talked to each other, and he said, "Tell Ben it's Alcázar."
Bill called me that too, but I asked Andrew. And Andrew said it's Alcázar. And Bill gave me a hard time because he said I kept calling him Alcatraz. So
I think somebody's pulling someone's leg.
I know, I told him I was getting punked, but in the HTA race, I'm going to call him a different last name every time. But let's get back to it, because there's Jenny in that beautiful orange Corvette Chevrolet. She raced that with us at the race in San Diego years ago. That's a beautiful car.
Yeah, that's one of the
Speed Festival.
One of the most desirable Corvettes. The most desirable being the split window 64 Corvette, but that's the second generation Corvette, and a lot of innovations. The first time Stingray name was used in that Chevrolet Corvette in 1964.
Here's Scott Borchetta in that one, the one because it's championship, and he's coming through the Big Machine Vodka Spike Coolers corner. The owner of Big Machine Vodka Spike Coolers, actually he and his brother run it. And there's Andrew. I'm going to say Alcázar. Bill Auckland, you can go ask him.
I love it. I think they're just messing with us.
I think I asked him if I was being punked, because I would think it'd be awesome if I was. Look at that guy sliding out that Mustang. Same with Andrew, owner of Russo and Steel right there. Beautiful cars.
Oh, that is a good looking car, I have to say. Quite happily run that.
I love when we're getting shots of them sliding it around the Franklin Road Apparel Complex. And there's that gold Mustang you were talking about.
Yep.
Now, how do you say his last name?
Bacciocco. I've been practicing it.
Apparently.
I was just telling him, he took a big sip of his beer yesterday at the end of a hard day's work, and he said, and he just let out that typical male gasp of, "That was the best thing I've ever done." And I said, "Oh, that first taste." And he went, "Yep." He goes, "Ah, right. You need to get my name." So that's where we were.
So we're monitoring. Crazy, I can't say his name on air, is correcting you. You said a 64 split window. It's a 63 split window.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
And there's the shots.
You've got to get up early to mess with Scott, but he's willing to do it.
What's on her antenna ball there? Like the old golf ball? I'm not sure what she's got on there, but that is a beautiful car.
I think it's one of your onboards, isn't it?
No, yeah, I hope not. But Steve Earle pulled me aside at Coronado years ago and pointed to that car and said that might be my favorite car here, and he is Mr. Corvette.
I thought Tony was.
Tony is also, yeah.
I think there's some Shelby GT350s out there as well in this particular class in Group 6. That's an iconic car, Jonathan.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm waiting to see my Jaguar too, my E-Type.
I think he's back to uncharacteristic. He's back towards the back of the pack. Usually on these handling courses, he's up with the Corvettes.
Yeah, actually this would be a good course for that Jaguar, yeah.
I know Scott Hawley also runs one, and he's very good at that as well, Ben.
So I'm getting a comment from Nicole Swanson. We were talking about her mom, and she says, "That's my mom." I love it. So welcome, Nicole. Your mama's killing it out there.
She is.
Beautiful Corvette.
She's in 8th place right now. She just did a fastest lap at 2:08. Nicely done.
But in vintage racing, it's just as much about how good it looks out there, and I think that car is winning the appearance award, and she is doing a great job of driving that car. It's a beautiful car.
And as we talked last weekend, it's not necessarily about racing against somebody. It's just the thrill of being out there, the joy of driving these great vintage cars out on these iconic racetracks all throughout the country and all throughout the year.
Frank Zucchi in that white Mustang.
Now, Ben, let me tell you, these could not be two disparate more cars. Zucchi has a 1911 National AC, one of the Indy racers that actually ran in the 1911 Indianapolis 500. In fact, the car that he's in is one of the 3 team cars that finished 7th overall. Now think about that car and look at that Ford Mustang. Couldn't be any more different than possible, right?
No, that's crazy.
And I'm not going to argue with him. He was actually commentating that day.
But
yeah, Frank Zucchi, very good. That's one of the hardtop Mustangs as opposed to the Shelby GT 350s or the fastbacks.
Borchetta taking a nice tight line through his own corner.
I believe that we're going to be talking at the next event, which will be at Lime Rock, where we'll be at Together Trans Am and SVRA about possibly his 29th win or 30th win, because I think he's going to double up here if he chooses to.
Amazing.
That's an amazing streak, and it goes all the way back. Again, Group 6 GT was a class kind of created after A production and B production, which is what he was in. And this streak dates all the way back to 2018 at Brainerd. He has not lost since then.
That's amazing.
And necessarily hasn't won overall, although he has won a lot overall, but in his class
win, yeah.
he has won. He's, again, going for his 28th straight win in this Group 6 GT class.
There was a position pass there by your boy in the 111. I'm not going to attempt his last name.
Pachiaco.
Over Andrew.
I've
got it on record now.
He does it so well.
There goes Borchetta through WeatherTech carousel here. Very tough section of the track.
Yeah, the carousel, big time.
But very important because it leads down into that Optima Batteries turn 7, and if you can get a good run out of that, which we saw in the SGT race just concluded, you can actually make a pass. Ben?
Nice.
Side by side. There's your boy, 111.
That was good stuff. Nice work, Mike. Taking that 66 Ford Mustang all gold. Scott Borchetta, you can see he's not holding back. Putting in some really nice pace here. Yeah, enjoying every moment of it.
I think that's the most amazing part of this run that he's had is that, you know, this is a 69 Chevrolet Corvette. This is not a brand new Corvette, and that car is immaculately prepared. It is mechanically great, and it is so reliable. It has not had any types of problems whatsoever. You know, the only time that I've ever seen him have a problem was in an Enduro, and that was very uncharacteristic for him.
Yeah, I think that's the testament. Like you say, it's a car that's well over 50 years old and still, like you say, going like the clappers. Because he's not cruising either.
No, you're saying he's not holding back. You can see that car sliding. Again, you know, these are vintage race cars. They don't have the modern, you know, traction control and ABS and all that other stuff on it. You know, he's just out there actually muscling that car around. And as we were talking, Ben and Jonathan, before on our last broadcast here today, that this is a very busy track. You are physically demanding track, moving your hands back and forth, going back and forth, you know, in the turns, up and down in the elevations. It's not an easy track to drive,
no,
especially a big horsepower car like this.
Well, I talked to Scott actually before the weekend started, and he said just that. He said, you know, this physically is probably the hardest track we go to. He said, because your hands are moving all the time. There is no straights. And he said, physically, you're just, you know, corner to corner to corner to corner. And he said, you know, physically you get out like it's like a workout.
So they're on their final lap right now. Scott Borchetta is in the lead, making this how many wins in a row?
Be 28.
28. And if I'm not mistaken, he's about the same age as the car.
I'm not sure. I've only met him once. That was at Road America when I interviewed him, and you know, very, very articulate man and very well raced in business.
He's going to kill me for saying that.
Right. The inaugural Music City Grand Prix was a huge success. Due mostly to him and his group.
White flag out. One more lap then to go in our Group 6 and 12A.
One more corner for Scott Borchetta.
And here he comes. Out of the Big Machine Vodka Spike Cooler, turn 11. and headed to what is another brilliant win for Scott Borchetta. 28 in a row.
And counting.
And counting.
He'll go for 29 tomorrow.
Wow.
Gonna have to buy another house just to have all his trophies in.
There you go. He's got a good car collection, and he's got room. I can assure you. I've had a look at it. You've been there too, haven't you, Ben?
Yeah. And now here's Jenny Yackel Swanson. I just heard from Nicole Swanson that she got to drive it back in January, and she's going to be out here driving with us too.
Good.
All right, good.
So, but that is a beast
great.
right there, that number 67.
So coming across the line then, Anderson takes second place, Mooney up to third, and Smith takes fourth. Bocchiacco in fifth position, Zuki Alcazar or
Alcázar
in seventh position, Yelkel Swanson in eighth. Well done, Jenny. DeVitis Borgia unfortunately not finishing the race, and likewise Michael Doyle not finishing in his Jaguar E-Type.
Oh no, your Jaguar didn't finish.
Doesn't look like it, just the 8 laps.
Too bad.
I think he was probably nursing it from yesterday's shenanigans. Well done, Scott. Nice work, and that beautifully painted Corvette. So that concludes our coverage of Group 6 and Group 12. My thanks once again to Scott and Ben. We'll take a short break here from Sonoma. We'll be back with more of the Speed Tour.